Hi, I'm Tim Bader from timbaderonline.com, and this video continues our series on understanding the Bible. Previously we looked at word-for-word and thought-for-thought translations, and this time we're going to talk about paraphrases, sometimes called informal translation. If we recall the previous videos, a word-for-word translation attempts to translate each Greek or Hebrew word into the English equivalent, while a thought-for-thought translation tries to do the same for each thought, idea, or concept. A paraphrase is much looser than that. A paraphrase attempts to apply the meaning of the Bible text to the reader's language and culture. Examples of paraphrases include the Good News Bible, the Living Bible, and the Message. In other words, a paraphrase tries to interpret the Bible for us. Therefore, strictly speaking, a paraphrase is not a translation. It's trying to take the thought of a passage and interpret that for our modern world. Of course, more formal translations have to interpret the Bible too. Indeed, we interpret everything we read based on our own culture and background. But formal translations are more focused on the specific meaning rather than the interpretation. It's probably best to look at an example to understand the difference. 1 Corinthians 16 verse 20 in the New International Version, a thought-for-thought translation, says this: "Greet one another with a holy kiss." In the Living Bible, the same verse says, "Give each other a loving handshake when you meet." The Message says, "Pass the greetings around with holy embraces." The paraphrases are trying to show us the application and what it means for us today in our current culture, rather than what it may have meant back when it was written. This means that paraphrases have some positives as well as some negatives. Let's begin by looking at some of the potential dangers of paraphrases. A common trend with paraphrase Bibles is that they're written by one person rather than a committee. This means that we only have that one person's idea of what specific passages mean. A notable exception to that is the Good News Bible, or the Good News Translation as it's marketed in the US, which is overseen by the American Bible Society. However, that's the exception, not the rule. Hence, that means if we read one without understanding what a paraphrase is, then we can mistakenly believe that it's telling us what the Bible actually says. In other words, we think we're reading a translation, which is not really the case. Another recent trend I've encountered in some churches is the adoption of paraphrases in times of worship. Remember, a paraphrase is not a translation, so it's important to make clear to the congregation what a paraphrase is and isn't. And a paraphrase should never become the primary source of wisdom and understanding for any church. However, despite all those negatives, paraphrases do still have value. Since they're written in modern, colloquial language, the main place where they have an advantage is that they're really easy to understand. But they also do very well at distinguishing between meaning and feeling or emotions. Since the words of a paraphrase are frequently quite different to a standard translation, I think this could be useful from time to time to help us approach the Bible afresh, particularly with those passages with which we've become over-familiar. Also, word-for-word and thought-for-thought translations can sometimes feel, well, a little bit dry. We see what the Bible passage says, but we don't always catch the emotions. The thing is, humans have feelings, and so does God. And paraphrases are usually very good at letting us know when God, or one of the many people mentioned in the Bible, is either angry, sad, joyful, or any of the other emotions that we display in everyday life. Now, it's not that standard translations fail to convey emotion, far from it. That will come out as part of understanding the meaning. It's more that paraphrases are exceptionally good at it. Join me next time when I'll draw together some thoughts on which Bible translation is the best. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.